morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all. My name is Sandy Hart, and I'm with the Charter for Compassion International and Director of the Women and Girls sector. As you notice now, Grandmother Flordemayo is not yet with us, and I want to thank you for your patience and a little bit of extra understanding and compassion this morning. Grandmother Flordemayo is actually in this very moment conducting a blessing for a Seeds conference, and she'll be with us very shortly. And if you received my email about an hour ago, you will have heard that while we thought this was going to be a 30-minute call and we'd be done by 8:30 California time, we're actually blessed that Grandmother will be with us for the full hour. However, she's going to be a little late, so we just flipped the time a little bit. So I'm praying that you can stay with us, but do know that this call is being recorded, and a recording of this call and all of the calls are found on our website, and I'll tell you a lot more about that. And if you are registered for this call, which is why you're here, you will be receiving an email from me with any information that is mentioned on this call that you would otherwise be having to take notes for. So do not worry if you miss a name or a link or something, because if it's mentioned, you'll get it in your email. Once again, and as I see many of you are now coming in and the floodgates have opened, we have so many of you coming in from about 23 countries around the world. So I want to welcome you. And as we are patiently awaiting for Grandmother Flordemayo, let's just take some time right now and do a little bit of housekeeping so that you know what you have at your fingertips. You'll notice that at the bottom of your screen, if you take your cursor, if it's not showing up for you, you have a chat window or a place to put questions and answers. Now, I hope you use this morning or this afternoon, wherever you are calling in from, because Grandmother loves your questions. So I encourage you, if something is on your heart and you would like to ask Grandmother a question, I invite you to put it in either the chat window or the question and answer. I don't know the difference. I think they both get to me and I'll be able to answer or to read them for you. And we're going to do our very best. And if we can't get to your questions on this call, we'll make sure that they get addressed hopefully on the next call. We always do our best. But again, Grandmother loves your questions. So I then will like to just take a moment and share with you a little bit about the Charter for Compassion International and who we are. So just to put into context why Grandmother called us in the first place and asked us to host these calls, honoring the Day of Ish, and happy Day of Ish to you all. Every 20 days Ish comes around according to the teachings of the Mayan calendar, and here we are in the most powerful day of feminine rising of our month, and also considering this a year of Ish. So how appropriate is that? So I welcome you, and it's an honor to be in your virtual presence here. The Charter for Compassion is a thriving global network of about 400 cities of compassion in 50 countries around the world. We have about 1,700 partners organized in 11 sectors, from environment, and healthcare, education, restorative justice, social justice, education, science and research. Just about try to cover all of the bases in society, and the Women and Girls sector is the newest and 11th sector of the Charter for Compassion. And once again, I'm the director of the Women and Girls sector, and I run this organization surrounded by some of our world's most talented and committed and blessings to be around women in the world. So we are led from a global community, and we exist to provide a safe space for women to explore feminine leadership, as well as a repository for women partners of the Charter for Compassion. So I encourage you all to go to charterforcompassion.org .org, and under partners you will find women and girls. I will tell you just very briefly about our current project that we are launching in honor of International Day of Women, which is in 4 days on March 8th. And this is our reaction to response initiative with the intention of shifting the narrative and the culture of our world from a reactory place to a place of response where we can breathe through and midwife into being a culture of peace and compassion. I invite you to take a look at some of the topics that we are addressing. Particularly, you might find interesting our April call, which is honoring International Earth Day, and this month's topic will address issues of climate change and the interconnectedness of the health and the well-being of Earth and all of her animate and inanimate inhabitants. We have 2 calls each month, and our April 5th and April 19th calls. Again, you can get all of this on our website, Living the Interconnectedness of Mother Earth and all of her inhabitants, and Acting Out the Critical State of Mother Earth. So those are our 2 topics just for April. So please do visit Charter for Compassion. Right from the homepage, you can find the reaction to response. And we are living into the message of Grandmother Flordemayo that we hear on these calls. It's very important. She is a guiding wisdom keeper for us. We take to heart and listen very deeply to her, and we keep that into consideration in all the work that we do here at the Charter for Compassion. In honor of Grandmother and in honor of you all for being here, I thought because Grandmother isn't here to open the with an opening blessing, that how appropriate would it be that we hear the Cathar's Creed, which is a guiding document for the board of the board of directors of the PATH, which is the organization which is co-founded by Grandmother Flordemayo, and has been made a choice again of the board of directors as their guiding document. And just a little context of the where the Cathar's Creed comes from. And if you were on the call at our last call, you would have received the Cathar's Creed in your email, and it will go out again. So what you're about to hear, you'll get a written copy in your email. And again, just to put into context, the Cathars are some of our first pre-Christians who really embodied Christ consciousness, and who in this document illustrate our divine relationship, I should say, to Earth and the heavens and all of the energies of this time. So if you heard on our last call, Akashiana Barnes reminded us that this document brings us to a place of choice. And so according to Akashiana, her quote is that this appears to not only bring a church of ideology, but also a church of love. So rather than hearing this from me or asking you to read it, I've actually queued up Akashiana from last recording, so you'll actually be hearing this from a medicine woman, and I am going to play that for you now.
These are the tenets, if you will, and I'm just going to read it slowly, and I just ask everyone to maybe close your eyes and just bring it into your hearts through the breath coming from the heavens. It has no membership save those who know they belong. It has no rivals because it is non-competitive. It has no ambition. It seeks only to serve. It is not of itself because it seeks to enrich all groups and religions. It acknowledges all great teachers of all the ages who have shown the truth of love. Those who participate practice the truth of love in all their being. It seeks not to teach, but to be, and by being, enriched. It recognizes the whole planet as the being of which we are apart. It recognizes that the way we are may be the way of those around us because we are the way. It recognizes that the time has come for the supreme transmutation, the ultimate alchemical act of conscious change of the ego into a voluntary return to the whole. It does not proclaim itself with a loud voice, but in the subtle realms of loving. It salutes all those in the past who have blazoned the path but have paid the price. It admits no hierarchy or structure, for no one is greater than another. Its members shall know each other by their deeds and being, and by their eyes, and by no other outward sign save the fraternal embrace. Each one will dedicate their life to the silent loving of their neighbor and environment and the planet. They will carry their task, however exalted or humble. It recognizes the supremacy of the great idea, which may only be accomplished if the human race practices the supremacy of love. It has no reward to offer, either here or in the hereafter, save that of the ineffable joy of being and loving. Each shall seek to advance the cause of understanding, doing good by stealth and teaching only by example. It has no secret, no arcanum, no initiation, save that of true understanding of the power of love, and that, if we want it to be so, the world will change, but only if we change. And all who belong, they belong to the Church of Love. Oh. So this is the time.
Indeed it is. This is a time now. Thank you. Thank you. And what a blessing it was to listen to that and bring it to you again on this call. And now is the time we would like to start collecting your questions and comments that you have. We actually do have a comment here from Ariel Pitano, and she asks, or states, it's actually a comment, oh, and in perfect blessed timing. We have grandmother Flordemayo joining us now, and she's just dialing in. So I'm going to go ahead and good morning, grandmother. She's just coming with us now. I'm going to go ahead and finish addressing Ariel's comment here. I just discovered, grandmother, I looked on the internet to see what a Mayan sign I was born under, and it's under the jaguar. The site said that the sound for the sign is ish. Is that the same word you are using when you say that this is the day of ish? I would love a practice to connect me with the wisdom and the guidance of the sign. Thank you. And yes, as grandmother is coming on and will let me know when she can hear me, and then we can hear her, I can say, yes, you are correct, Ariel. That is the sign. The jaguar is the sign of the Ish. And we'll just give grandmother a moment or two more or as long as she needs actually, to join us and dial in and we can hear her voice. So I'm so glad that you brought this up. Good morning, grandmother. Can we hear you?
Yes, good morning, Sandy.
What
Yes, good morning.
What elegant timing. What elegant timing, grandmother. Welcome. I'll just fill you in a little bit of how what we've been doing. I've actually have just queued up the recording of a Kashiana reading the Cathar's Creed. I felt it was most important to open our call with a blessing and that it come from a medicine woman. And so, and I had actually just asked, we have a question from Ariel, but why don't you settle in and greet everyone?
Good morning, everybody. I'm wishing everybody lots of love and light on this beautiful, beautiful day of Ish. I am here in Santa Fe at the very moment. There is a seed conference that's going on right now, and I'm here to participate in the prayers. So I want to say good morning to everybody. Blessings and much love and light. Thank you for being here.
Indeed, indeed.
I have here with me my colleague and dear friend, Angela Clarice, and she is sitting here in the room because I'm not computer savvy, and if I need a little bit of help with the computer or the phone, that she can help me. So I want to thank Angela for her support and help right now. Thank you to you, Sandy, also.
It's an absolute honor. It's an absolute honor. Grandmother, we have by the way, let me just mention that I will direct anyone who needs the link to dial back into this call. It's on our website, and I'm going to also in a moment add it to the chat window. So I just want you to know that I see your question and that it will be forthcoming in just a few moments. Grandmother, we just received a question from Ariel, and I think it would be wonderful to address it now, that she had just come in to understand, she just learned about you and was actually looking on the internet to better understand more about the Mayan calendar and to find out what sign she was actually born under, and it turns out that she was born under the sign of the Jaguar. And it says there that this is the sign of Ish, and she'd love a practice to connect more about the wisdom and the guidance of that sign.
Well, first of all, I want to share with everybody that I just want to let everybody know and be clear that I am not a day keeper, and I am not what is called a Mayan scholar. I have studied the calendar, and I have been with my teacher for like 30 years. So my knowledge is very, very limited. So what I'm trying to say is the wisdom of these calendars takes generations, and I don't want to come on like I'm, this proficient Mayan day keeper. But what I can say about this particular day today, it's the day that we celebrate the balance of us humans becoming in balance with nature. And so we celebrate and do ceremonies so that we could receive the return of those plants. Anything that is alive on the earth, plants, shrubs, herbs, trees that have disappeared from the earth, we pray that they are returned to the human race. This is the day that we honor the women. This is the day that we honor ourselves as carriers of the seeds of the future generations. We embrace our womb, and we pray for that, for the future generations. We're also reminded that we pray for the domestic animals, for those of us that have those domestic animals in our lives. So the prayer is a prayer of gratitude, thanking the beloved Creator, our Mother, Father, for allowing us to be present on this particular day of Ish, and to help us to remember of all of the things that we should be grateful for that are given to us, that comes to us through the seed living things. And the other thing that this day is in particular good is that we have to pray for forgiveness, and the forgiveness for humanity, for destroying so many things on the earth, the exploitation of the earth that's going on around the world. So we put our prayers with that forth, and we hold that in our hearts so that we don't make mistakes like this. And the other thing that we can remember is to pray for those that are in power, that are making these decisions of destruction of these sacred elements, the spirit of the water, the spirit of the air, you know, the pollution and all the atrocities that humanity has done. So this is a day in which we pray for forgiveness also. And of course, the prayer is a dialogue from the heart. We come from different areas of the earth, and we all have our particular sacred prayers that we say in our language. So we honor this in the way that we know how. And the dialogue is just that. It's talking to the Creator. Thank you for that question.
Quite beautiful. Thank you, Grandma. And now I'm anxious to myself to go find out what sign I was born under, and perhaps it would be a good idea for everybody to do the same. Grandmother, being that you're at the seed conference in particular, would you like to speak to what it really means to be a seed keeper?
You know, that's a really good question. And I, you know, here again, I'm being asked something. Let me backtrack a little bit, okay? I just want to share with everybody, I'm a woman of prayer. This is who I am, okay? I receive visions and dreams, and this is all that I am, okay? I was given and received a mandate by the beloved mother. And I say beloved mother because the invisible being and the voice that I hear it's a very, very compassionate, sweet, sweet voice. And so to me in my heart, it feels like the beautiful voice of a mother. And the beloved mother said to me, you need to bring people to New Mexico. That was like the beginning of it. And then after that, I started receiving more visions and more directions on what to do. And at one point, I was directed to build a seed temple, and also to connect with other seed keepers. Now, the seed keepers, this would be like a good question for a seed keeper, but I'm going to answer it the best way that I know how, okay? The seed keepers are people like our grandmothers and grandfathers, okay? This is not like removed, okay? And still right now, some of us have aunties and moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas that save their seeds from one season to another. And so these are passionate people that collect them, they protect them, and they give their lives for these seeds, all kinds of seeds, whether it's food, plants, whatever it is that is on the earth that helps us in our everyday life. And of course, you know, as male and female, we have to understand that we are the seed keepers of humanity. So we can't remove ourselves from the, you know, from the seeds that we have in our bodies. Mm-hmm. So we are born with seeds, and And we, everybody, male and female, are seed keepers. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. On our last call, the question was asked to you, what does it mean to connect with the earth? What does it mean to, what is the ritual, and what is the how do we actually go out into our gardens and out into our own backyards and put our hands in the earth? And you spoke so eloquently about the deep intention of going into the earth. And when you speak about the seeds, that reminds me of the power of our intention, the power of going deeper and deeper with our intention. And I wonder for this audience, and it's hard to know who was on this call versus last call, so I'm wondering if you would speak to that again. What does it mean to actually plant the seed? What is your interpretation of what it means to plant those seeds, and how does that actually manifest in our daily lives, especially in today's world where there's heightened challenges? Perhaps they were always there, but now they just seem a lot more prevalent. And so what does it mean? How do we navigate through these days, or any days of great tension, and where do you call up that deep intention of planting those seeds?
Okay. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit and explain about the word that you said, intention. I'm going to use a word that we use in Spanish, and the word is called entregar. The word entregar means that you give yourself, meaning your full attention, 100% attention to the prayer. And this takes a little bit of time. It isn't like we're going to do it in 2 minutes. Okay, so all of these things, these intentions that you have said, how do we do this? Everything is a process, and everything takes time. And what we as humans need to do is to forgive ourselves for being in such a rush all the time, okay? Because things are not going to happen overnight, and there is no one there with a wand that's going to help us. So with the word entregar means that we come into a place of stillness, and we start this marriage relationship with the Creator. And in the way that we process this entregar is when we feel in our hearts that we are totally, totally connected, okay? And finding this connection. Then we walk somewhere where there's a little bit of dirt, okay? And you don't have to be going out in the woods. You don't have to be going out into nature. I'm talking about real simple stuff, okay? Get yourself a bag of organic dirt, okay? Put it on the floor in your house and step on it, touch it, okay? And you could really feel the energy of the earth, okay? So what I'm trying to say is I want to bring everybody back into simple. It's always really beautiful to be out in nature, okay? But maybe some of us can only make that trip once a year, okay? Just because of where we live, or just because of our obligations in daily life, okay? And the other thing that the Holy One showed me when I closed my eyes was a little container where we could go to the store and buy seeds that we love, whether it's rice, whether it's beans, whether it's, melon seeds, it doesn't matter. Put them in a little container where you can put your hand in the container and you can feel the spirit of these organic seeds, okay? try to get the organic stuff, because the organic has life and it has light. If you get the GMO, it's synthetic and it has no light. It has no substance. So don't fool yourself. Make sure that you get the right thing, okay? Now, these are some things that you can do simply, you know, in your house. We don't have to make our lives like super complicated and try to imagine of going somewhere where somebody might have a seed collection, because these people that have the seed collections, they are not to be touched by other hands or anything like that. They have to be kept sterile and clean so that when they're planted, they have the right cleanliness. And so these things are kept pristine. So, you know, get something that you can make your life simple. Yeah.
And I'm so grateful to hear that, because so often those are the sort of obstacles that prevent us from taking certain actions because we feel it's just a little too much. And in this case, even with full integral, I'm sorry, I hope I'm pronouncing this, when we remember our relationship and the depth of that, what I use the word for intention, which is your explanation of integral as actually taking it to the next level of really being patient with yourself and personalizing it and looking at it from the filter of deep relationship to yourself and to your spirit. And I am so grateful for that. But how very simple you make it sound, and present it to us and remind us that what a simple act it is to go to a hardware store and buy organic earth, and to keep it in our home, and to connect through the ritual of connecting. And I'm so grateful for that. You also mentioned forgiveness, which is very personally a very powerful tool that I try to remember all the time, especially when I'm charged or confronted in tension, and to remember that forgiveness. And I'm wondering if you would speak to that a little bit about what.
No, go ahead and finish, Sandy.
Well, I guess my question is, would you speak to the power of forgiveness, the power that, and the critical importance that we learn to forgive ourselves, and in doing so, we can forgive others.
That's the first thing. We can't do anything unless we forgive ourselves and see our errors, and we try to improve on it. It's a lifetime job. It's not anything that comes overnight. It's not anything that's going to come in a year that you're going to be done and finished with it. It's pretty much a life plan. You have to be persistent, and you have to walk your talk, is what I'm trying to say. You know, you have to realize it, because we do have a lot of stuff that we carry from previous reincarnations, and also genetically we carry stuff. We carry things through influence of society or areas and countries that we live in. I know that there's a lot of things in Central America that I hear and I see, and for myself, I would say, oh, you know, I would like to improve on that, you know, because I know I do that. So we have to be in a state of acknowledging and being in a place of reminding yourself, you know, not to do that. And then if you do it, you know, that you speak to the person or to the situation and you explain yourself and say, oh, you know, gee, gosh, you know, I'm so sorry that, you know, I said that or I did that, you know, forgive me for doing that. You know, and then you just kind of, it becomes into a habit, and little by little you begin to eliminate it. And it's a job, you know, it's work. Everything is work. Everything, if you want to progress in anything, it's work. It's like learning how to read. The more you read, the better you'll read. It's that simple. So all of these things about spirituality, relationship with the invisible beings, it's all a practice.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you. One of our partners here at the Charter for Compassion is the Center for Compassion and Altruism Research Education at Stanford, otherwise known as CCARE. And so much work is being done right now on understanding the way the mind works on compassion and empathy and also forgiveness. And there's a whole body of work around each of these different verticals of understanding ourselves and going deeper and understanding the science of the biological reactions to, you know, our actions. And when you talk about the practice, you know, one of the things I'd learned from CCARE in my in participating in many of those science and research conversations at the Charter is that when we do practice something, we create new neural pathways in our mind. And the more they're like roads running through our mind. And the more that we practice something, the more paved over that road becomes. So thoughts flow more freely, and that also and then suddenly they become sheathed like a tunnel. So those, like you say, when you practice and it becomes a habit, those habits are formed because you've developed these pathways that are then sheathed over. So the messages to the brain, throughout the brain, flow more thoroughly. It's really quite astonishing, the power of practice. And practicing forgiveness for yourself is where you don't even recognize it after a while that that's what you're doing. Is so remarkably powerful. And so I'm really grateful that you brought that up, the power of our practice. And I think they say it takes 21 days to really form those pathways. So doing something for 21 days actually is all it takes to practice that. So my commitment is to practice putting my hands in the earth every day and focusing on acknowledging, unpacking some wounds perhaps, and learning to forgive myself before I can consider forgiving others. Grandmother, we have a question from an anonymous viewer. Can Grandmother speak a little more about the generational karmic inheritance and how we move through that and evolve beyond it?
That's a really complicated question. That may take me a couple of weeks to talk about that. Because I would have to sit down and do diagrams and bring everybody, you know, to this visual experience. But it's a beautiful, beautiful, incredibly beautiful question. And, you know, and maybe down the road I can do, you know, a class on that. But it's very complex and very beautiful. And this is what we're doing, you know, in our physical existence, is cleaning ourselves and clearing ourselves for the next reincarnation. So, you know, we have this obligation to ourselves to release and to remove. We use a word in Spanish that's called rastro, and the word rastro means bringing something from the before life. And so we have these memories of these rastros that we bring in, that we're born with, and a lot of the times it has nothing to do with the way that, you know, where we come from, how we were born, whether we were breech or natural birth, you know, what kind of trauma we had as a child. Sometimes we have things that are holding us back that has to do with um, previous reincarnations. But as a whole, okay, if we were to look at ourselves as a whole, we need to experience these lifetimes with living all of these different areas of life. Living as a man, having memories of being a male, having memories of being in war as a soldier, having memories of living a monastic life, having memories of being in poverty, having memories of living in richness, having memories of not having a spiritual awareness, having memories of perhaps maybe other galaxies. So all of these memories, we exist as humans right now. And this is like the teachings of the Maya. We exist yesterday, today, and tomorrow. We are the children of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So we have all this conglomerate information, little tiny little tidbits that come to us in our everyday memory, our night memory, and sometimes, you know, they could be so strong and they would come as like nightmares. And what it is that we have to work through them. We have to figure out, why are you having these, you know, nightmares that you are, you know, in war? You know, why do you have these nightmares of having trouble in the water? You know, why are you having nightmares of whatever, you know, because we all have these, you know, memories and these collective memories. And I want to remind everybody that just because, you know, we're awake during the day, the memories don't go away. You know, we have flashes of these memories during the day, the same as we do in the nighttime. So we're constantly in a state of dreaming. We're in the night dreaming and the day dreaming. This is who we are.
Thank you to that anonymous viewer for posing that question, because I did say that it's just a matter of acknowledging and paying attention, and the intention of unpacking those wounds. It definitely is much more, and we mean not to discount that. And so I do hope you will consider, grandmother, creating a program perhaps around this, because it sounds like some of the most important work that we can be doing to shift into a culture of real compassion and peace.
It's actually a life work. The sooner that you find out in your life what all your hang-ups are, the quicker you're going to release yourself from all of that nonsense. Mm-hmm. And the free, you become a free being is what you do. Oh. That's what we thrive for, to be totally free. Yeah.
That sounds like true freedom, indeed, of course. Well, with the remaining, our remaining time, pardon me, some of my voice is gone. We have another comment and question, and give me just a moment, grandmother. Let me read this. It's gratitude to you, and thanking you for this conversation and the beautiful way to start the day. This is from Heather. For myself, one of the most powerful lessons I have received from my mom is forgiveness, whether it is with ourself or others. I love being able to share my morning with you, and thank you so much for the blessings that you are today. And if I may just say that the beautiful mother that Heather is speaking about is grandmother Flordemayo. So this is Heather, grandmother's daughter. So Heather, I'm so grateful to read your comment here, and I think we all join you, and what a blessing. And that gratitude that you express certainly has been deeply embedded in you by having such a lovely mother, who is our grandmother. So thank you for sharing that. So grandmother, with the remaining time that we have this morning, are there any other messages that you would like us to take with us?
one of the things that I think about is for us to be gentle with ourselves and to embrace ourselves and love ourselves in a good way, and not be concerned too much about a whole lot of things, because we sometimes put a lot of things on our plates on a daily basis. But to be in the moment and enjoy. You know, things are going to be good. Things are going to be great if you get into that space, and you will realize that things are perfect, whether they're good or indifferent. These are two words that I learned from my mother, that, you know, if I was having a difficult time, my mom would say to me, "Oh, sweetie, you're just having an indifferent moment," you know? And it doesn't matter, you know. Maybe I felt like the earth was going to swallow me, you know, at the moment. I don't know what it was, but this was a good way where my mom would kind of calm my feathers and put me in a good space, you know. So you know, let's try to have a lot of perfect moments. You know, everything's perfect. It doesn't, you know, yeah, it doesn't really matter. So let's be gentle with ourselves, you know, on moment to moment basis. Yeah, and also not to be so hard, you know, because some of us have very difficult heart natures by birth. You know, like I said before, we don't know, you know, we have to do so much exploration about why it is that some of us have these tendencies. But to try to love ourselves a little bit more and be less critical of oneself and other people, you know, let's just love each other and have a beautiful day. That's what I could love to say. Thank you so much.
Oh, I thank you so much, because you do remind me in our conversations offline. You do remind me of something. There's a hiccup here or there. You always remind me, everything is perfect. Everything is perfect. Everything is perfect. Yeah. So thank you for that. It's such a blessing to be reminded of that. And starting by forgiving ourselves in the moments that we come down on ourselves, right? That everything is perfect. And thank you. Sometimes that's my mantra for the day. We actually have an anonymous viewer has asked if you offer, it sounds like private sessions perhaps, with memory and past life awareness. And
I do, yes.
And how can we reach you for that?
You could log on followthegoldenpath.org. And there is an area there that has private healings. And so I discuss with individuals. This is by them giving me a little bit of their personal information, which is the birthday, month, and year. And I look at the chart in the Mayan cosmic, you know, this book that's called Time, Space, and Velocity. That what it does is that it puts together a cosmic plan that is very individual to the person, and it shows you and it guides you where you're at and where you can get by doing your own counseling. Yeah. So it's good. I do make that available.
Beautiful. Thank you. And again, that that web address is followthegoldenpath.org, and that you can also, you'll also receive that link in your email that's to follow this call. Heather has commented here, the many have asked about private healing sessions, so please see the information below. So I'm going to go ahead and add this to your email, this comment here. So if I may I read this, grandmother? I don't know if you can see what Heather has sent. but
No, yeah, you can read it. I can't see it.
all
It's all
right.
fine, Sandy.
All right, very good. I hope that this was the intention of this text, but I think it's so beautiful. When I tune into oh, and this is a quote, so I imagine this is from you, grandmother. When I tune into someone's field, what I see is the dance of light surrounding the individual's body. I then translate this information for healing, clearing, personal guidance, or whatever the person desires through their intention. My work has been helpful and with health issues, life changes, walking with purpose, issues with children, home clearing, mental health, individual and family blessings. Grandmother Flordemayo speaks about the light body and connects with individuals for private consultation and healings by appointment. So yes, I'm going to be hopefully the first one to your website when this call is over. So you can expect a request from a session for me too. Now lastly, not lastly, we do have a little bit more time. Suzanne Lewis would like to state that thank you so much, grandmother, for the momentum and the support for the feminine rising. I stand beside you with much love. So it's so nice to see that. Thank you.
I'd like to thank grandmother Suzanne Lewis for sending that sweet message and wish her a very blessed day and wish everybody a blessed day. Thank you, Grandma.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry, I didn't realize that was grandmother, so I meant no disrespect. Thank you very much. And grandmother Flordemayo, what you may have missed you did miss on our call is we have about 24 countries calling in today. I think I meant, yeah, it looks like about 24 people from 24 countries calling in and have registered for this call. So it's quite beautiful to see the reach around the world. And once again, I would like to just remind you all that this call is being recorded, and a recording of this call will be found on our website, which you will find at thecharterforcompassion.org. And under partners, you will see the women and girls sector. So that's where you'll find the recording for this and all other calls. And you can register for our next call, which is March 24th at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And the ability to register for that call is there right now. So if you'd like to get a jump on things and register for that call, please go ahead and do that now. Grandmother, would you like to send us off with last words of wisdom or a blessing of sorts before we close our call this morning?
I would like to embrace everybody and do the lullaby, which is the humming for the heart, and for us to love ourselves and love the child in us, and to send this vibration across the four directions and the universe. One of the things that I say is I introduce myself as a child, not only from Central America, from the rainforest, but I'm also a child of the stars. So we're going to send this beautiful vibration out into the universe. And I invite everybody to participate in this and feel the calmness and the beauty that you'll feel in your heart. Mm-hmm. 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 Much blessings to everybody. Love and light. Love and light.
Thank you, grandmother. Goodbye, everybody.